Welcome back with a smiling face. Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. The Path of Strength. Episode 3. Chapter 23. I looked at my mom. Can I trust her with my secret? I do not want the entire pack to know because I want to take this at Catalia's pace, but at the same time, it is my mom and it would be nice to have someone close to me to talk to. Mom, I found out she was my mate today. The alpha wanted me in training to spar with Kot, even Jacob joined in. She ended up kicking Jacob and we went at each other in wolf form. I did not mean to hurt her this badly. I feel for hurting my mate. She is not ready to accept our bond and she has told me that she needs time. I am willing to give it to her, but that does not change how I feel. It hurts that she is wanting time when all I want is her, but I understand her need for time does not make it hurt any less. My mom gave me a look of pity. I am sorry, son. I know it is hard when your fated mate struggles with accepting the bond. It does not mean that you did anything wrong and it does not mean she will reject you. Your father and I had a rocky start too. I did not want to accept the bond either. I struggled with the idea of being with your father for 3 months. There was nothing wrong with your father, but I had some internal struggles that I needed to deal with too. Catalia may have the same issues. Give her the time that she asked for and, during that time, show her that you will be there to support her and love her, even when she pushes you away. Son, she will push you away. Most women will, it is just in our nature, especially ones that are as headstrong as Catalia. I contemplated what my mom had said. Mom, what made you decide to give Dad a chance? She thought for a second. Honestly, his persistence. He just would not stop. He was also there for me whenever I needed him to be. I knew without a doubt that I could trust him. Plus, it was getting to the point of cruelty of making him wait later than he had. Your father was a rather patient man for a warrior, but even his patience has its limits and I have definitely tested them. I looked over at Catalia. I will give her all the time that she feels she needs to be happy and ready to accept our bond. My mom stands up, kisses my forehead, and tells me that she has some errands to run, but my secret was safe with her, not even my father would find out from her. I continued to watch Catalia for the next several hours. Every so often, she would twitch or move, which allowed me to see that she was indeed alive. I relaxed into the chair and closed my eyes, deciding I would take a short nap. Catalia's POV, my head was pounding and there was a dull throbbing in my leg. I slowly opened my eyes and looked around. I was in the pack hospital, but why? I thought for a second before I remembered all of the events from earlier. That was when I noticed the tingles shooting up my arm. I looked down to see my hands joined with Justin's. He was fast asleep. I slowly got up and made my way to the bathroom. Goddess, how long was I asleep for? I went to the bathroom and then decided to take a quick shower. I can still feel some dirt and grime on my body. Once I am done in the shower, I wrap a towel around my head, dry my body, and put a fresh gown on from under the counter before walking into the room. Once I entered the room, I noticed that Justin had finally woken up. He looked up when I entered the room and a sign of relief escaped him. I am so glad that you are up, Kot. I was worried about you. Your family is on the way, so I would understand if you would like me to leave, he quietly told me. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time to stay with me. Do you think there are any extra clothes somewhere that I can wear? He looked hesitant for a second. Michael had brought me some extra clothes shortly after you were admitted from my room. All I ended up doing was putting on a clean shirt. There is still a clean shirt and a pair of athletic shorts if you want them. I could tell why he was hesitant now. He was offering me his clothes to wear. I am sure that is, also, a possessive thing too. Most men, especially men of rank and warriors, were usually ultra-protective of their mates until they bore their mark, which explains why he gave me his shirt once I shifted back after training. He did not want anyone to see me. I nodded my head at him, indicating that I would take his shirt and shorts. It was better than this hospital gown. He handed them to me before grabbing his stuff and leaving. I quickly dressed and I barely sat back down on the bed, before my parents and brothers walked through the door. "Hey, Kot! Glad to see you are awake." Elijah greeted me as he walked into the room. "Only you would manage to end up needing surgery on your birthday." My father walked in and sat in the chair that Justin was occupying. "Chad said that we can take you home whenever you are ready to go home." I nodded my head. I was ready to go home. I hate being in the pack hospital. Every time I am here, it takes me back to when I was here when I had been raped. Ironically, this was the same room I was in that dreadful day. My dad goes to collect my discharge paperwork, while I gather up my stuff. My mind wanders to Justin and the fact that he sat with her pretty much all day with me. I did not expect him to do that. Maybe he does care. As we leave the pack hospital, my father tells me about everything that I have missed today. When we make it back home, my mother begins the necessary prep for dinner and my birthday. Once the night was finished, I laid down on my bed and was out in seconds. Chapter 24. Justin's POV. The next day, I tossed and turned all night. Between my need to be around my mate and Aries' incessant whining, I did not know what was driving me crazier. At this point, it was Aries. He was constantly complaining about wanting his mate and letting him take control so he can go get what is his. I tried telling him this was not what would attract any female, but he did not listen. He told me that I needed to listen to my baser instincts. All I could do was shake my head at him. I was now getting ready to head to the pack house for a meeting with Elder Christopher. He linked me last night and asked me if I could meet with him this morning, said there was something that he needed to talk to with a few of the warriors and myself. I hesitantly agreed, even though I was sure that he was not giving me a choice in the matter. I leave my house in just a t-shirt and shorts. As soon as I stepped outside, it was pouring down rain. I turned around and grabbed my jacket from just behind the door. I looked up at the sky and it was a dark gray with heavy storm clouds. I sighed. This was not what I wanted to walk into, plus I still had to lead training this afternoon. Afternoon trainings in the rain were usually a pain. There were warriors that would constantly complain about having to spar in the rain. Once I left my house, I jogged to the pack house, trying to make it there as quickly as possible. Once inside, I made my way to the Alpha's office, where this meeting was being held. The door was opened, so I just walked in. It looked like the warriors were already present, but the Alpha and Elder Christopher were nowhere to be found. I made my way to sit next to Garrison. What is going on? None of us know. We all received the same link last night asking us to meet in the Alpha's office today because Elder Christopher needed to speak with us. Garrison responded. I looked around the room and took notice of everyone that was present in the room. Elias, Liam, Caleb, Jean, Gail, Amir, Aziel. Plus, myself and Garrison. There was, also, one female warrior present, Jessica. I wonder what they all want from us. Elder Christopher walked into the room, followed by Michael, Oliver, James, Elijah, Beta Damon, Gamma Sean, and the Alpha. Elder Christopher goes to sit in one of the chairs behind the Alpha's desk and begins speaking. I am sure you are all wondering why you are here. As you all know, Michael has decided to relinquish his role of future Alpha to his sister Catalia. However, the elders and some of the pack members are concerned about Catalia's ability to effectively run and protect this pack. Elder Christopher paused and I used this time to look around the room and gauge everyone's thoughts on what he was saying. The Alpha and Beta looked thoroughly pissed and most of the warriors, including myself, were confused about where this was going. Christopher continued speaking, so, the elders and I have decided that in order for her to claim her role as Alpha, she needs to prove herself to the pack and us. In order for her to do this, we decided to have a battle royale of sorts. Each of the warriors in this room has been chosen for their abilities on and off the battlefield. The 10 of you are ranked as the best for warriors in our pack. First, we plan to have the 10 of you fight Catalia at once. All she needs to do is either injure you to the point you cannot continue or force your submission. Then, she will face Oliver and James as the next Beta and Gamma of the pack. Afterwards, she will fight Elijah and Michael. Once again, it will be either severely injured or submission. Finally, she will take on our current Alpha, Beta, and Gamma to see how she fares against them. When Christopher finally finished speaking, several warriors spoke in outrage, myself included. This is ridiculous. You are insane. Catalia will kill us. I waited for everyone to quiet down before I asked my question, why does Catalia have to fight 17 people in order to prove her worth to you? You never considered this when Michael was the future Alpha and you would not have done this if Elijah was going to be the future Alpha. Kat can do this if you just gave her a chance. Plus, fighting 10 of us at once is not something that I would consider highly fair. Christopher regarded me for a second before he responded to me. Catalia is a female. Females are not meant to be Alpha. The female Alpha is meant to be a legend, not real. Michael and Elijah are both males and are fit to run this pack on their own. If there was an attack on the pack, there is a high probability that she would have to fight 10 plus wolves on her own. Catalia has already told me that when she finds her mate, she still refuses to hand the title of Alpha solely over to her mate. This fight will allow us to see if Catalia truly has what it takes to defend us and be a true Alpha. I still did not think it was fair for them to think that Catalia was not fit to be Alpha because she is a female. As for her not passing the title on to her mate, I cannot believe they asked her to pass on her birthright. Even though she was not the firstborn, she is still of Alpha descent and Sky is an Alpha wolf, even if they were not willing to see that. Just from seeing Sky for the first time, I could tell that Sky was a strong wolf and I could tell that she was meant to be Alpha, not Luna like they were expecting her to be. If Kat chose to accept me, I would 100% be her Luna if that was her choice. I would do anything to remain by her side. I would do anything to support her. Regardless of what you think you are doing, I hope you plan to give her some form of time in between each match. It still is not fair to her to pit her against 17 people in the span of a few minutes to a few hours, while everyone watches and takes bets on her, I said to Christopher. I got up to walk out of the office when Michael placed his hand on my arm. Does this mean you are refusing to compete in the challenge, Justin? Christopher asked me. I turned around to look at him. No, I will still compete, but only because I believe in Catalia. I believe that she is strong enough to do this, even if I have to train with her every single day until this challenge takes place. I shrugged Michael's hand off my arm and left the office, slamming the door behind me. I felt marginally bad for slamming Alpha's door, so I linked him to apologize. Sorry, Alpha. I could not sit there and listen to him continue to tell me all the reasons that Catalia is not meant to be alpha or the fact that they expect her to fight 17 people on her own. When in reality, if there was ever an attack on the pack, she would not be alone. Our warriors will be there with her. We would never let our alpha fight on her own. The alpha replied almost instantly, "It is okay, son. I would not have expected any less from you. I appreciate you standing up for Catalia like that, even though you two are struggling with your relationship and what you will be to each other. I applaud you for continuing with the challenge as they have asked. I struggle with the prospect of hurting my mate in the slightest. I can only imagine how you feel about the prospect of having to fight your mate and the probability that you will injure her. I saw your struggle yesterday when you two were sparring and she was injured. Thank you for trying to help her. I will let you know what else they say about this challenge and if there is anything you should know." At least the alpha understood where I was coming from. Once I left the pack house, I headed home to change my clothes and decided to go shopping in the city center. I never got the chance to get Catalia something for her birthday and I really wanted to. Now was the perfect time for me to go search for the perfect gift for her. Chapter 25. Catalia's POV. 6 days have passed since my birthday and it is now the day before my challenge. I would be lying if I did not say that I was completely nervous. I was worried about failing, but my father keeps assuring me that I am ready. I have spent the last 6 days doing rigorous training. Justin has joined my training sessions every single day, as if he was invested in me succeeding. The elders and my father refused to tell me the warriors that I would be fighting during this. I just knew there were at least 10 of them. Today, the visitors that the elders had invited were arriving, except for the Leakin King, Lucas. Lucas, his mate Jenna, and his guardian were set to arrive mere hours before the fight starts. My father told me to take today off, so that I can be well rested for my fight tomorrow. I was still struggling with my nerves. What if I fail? What if I let my father down? What if I disappointed everyone? What if I was not cut out for this? Stop it! Catalia Frost, you stop that right this instant. We are capable of doing this. We are strong enough to do this. We are fierce. We are a warrior. We are a fighter. Most importantly, we are too stubborn to let anyone defeat us. Sky yelled at me. We have been going on like this for the past couple of days. I would think just one thing negatively and she would start yelling at me and reminding me that we are capable and strong. I was walking in the city square when I received a mind link from Justin. Hey, Catalia. Can we meet up for lunch? I thought about it for a second. I did promise I would give him a chance and the only times that I have seen him were when he came to training. I would be lying to myself if I did not say that my bond was calling for him, that I missed him. Sure. Where would you like to meet? Zydlia's coffee shop. Just promise me you will let me pay without arguing with me. Not only do I want to do this, but Zydlia is sort of intimidating and I don't need her getting mad at me because you are paying for my food. I giggled at what Justin said. He is right. Zydlia is intimidating and she can be scary and mean. I guess I will agree to your terms. I heard him laugh through the link before we cut the link. I made my way over to Zydlia's to wait for him. I was only waiting for about 10 minutes before Justin got there. Justin reached towards me as if he was about to give me a hug, before thinking about it, and pulling away from me. Hey, Kat. Hey, yourself. We walked into the cafe and made our way to place our orders. We ordered the same thing that we ordered last time. After Justin paid and we received our food, we made our way to one of the furthest tables in the back. Are you nervous about tomorrow? he asked me. Do I answer him honestly? Will he think less of me? Gah, why can't anything in my life ever be simple? I decided to be honest with him. I am terrified about tomorrow. Anytime I think about it, I get this terrible feeling in the pit of my stomach and I start to feel sick to my stomach. I am not worried about having to fight the warriors. I am worried about disappointing everyone. What if I cannot do it? What if I fail? Caught, love, I promise you will not fail and you will not disappoint anyone. Most of us are rooting for you. I will be there with you and so will your family. We will support you and have your back. Whenever you start to feel nervous or worried, just look at me and I will reassure you. At any point in time during any of the fights, you need to mind link me for reassurance. Go ahead. I promise I will leave my link open for you. He reached over and grabbed my hand, giving it a reassuring squeeze. Even after I constantly push him away, he is still willing to give me a chance. He must have the patience and love of a saint. I had a feeling that you would be worried about the fight tomorrow, so I wanted to give you a gift. It was supposed to be a birthday gift, but with everything that happened around your birthday, I just have not had the chance to give it to you. If you are willing, I would like to give it to you now. I nodded my head at him. I usually do not do gifts, but I could not turn down the look that was on his face. He seemed pleased with himself. Happy. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a gift box. I opened the box and I gasped. It was gorgeous. Inside was a necklace, with the chain looking to be made of pure gold. It had a wolf howling at the moon and in the center of the wolf was a bright blue jewel. I felt a prickling in my eyes and I felt my eyes well up with tears. This was so thoughtful and the necklace was so exquisite. The color of the jewel reminds me of the color of your eyes. When I saw the wolf pendant, I knew it was perfect for you, so I asked the jeweler in town if she could modify it to add the aquamarine jewel to it. Not only does it remind me of your eyes, but the aquamarine jewel is, also, your birthstone. She assured me she could. The chain I had specially made, so that you do not have to worry about the chain breaking if you suddenly shift. It will still hang onto your wolf and it is made to withstand damage, so even in battle it should not break. I was hoping that you would be willing to wear them during the fight tomorrow. This way, you have a piece of me with you, reminding you that I will always protect you. I sat there stunned. This was the most thoughtful gift I have ever received from anyone. I can only imagine how expensive it was, which made me not want to accept it. Do not get me wrong, it is gorgeous, but I hate accepting gifts, especially ones that cost a lot of money. However, Justin put a lot of thought and effort into this gift. I could tell that it would mean a lot to him if I accepted it and wore it for him. Please Cot, I want to wear it. If you don't do it for yourself, can you please do it for me? I rarely ask you for anything, Sky pleaded with me. I guess if it makes her happy too, then I would keep it and wear it. I nodded my head at him. My throat felt tight. I was trying to prevent the tears from spilling over. I am not weak. He does not need to see my tears. Justin stood up from his seat and came over to me. He gently brushed my hair out of the way and grabbed the necklace out of my hand. He clasped the necklace before lightly kissing the top of my head. Thank you, I whispered. I was still scared to speak. I was worried the words would not come out properly and that the tears would eventually spill over. He smiled at me before grabbing my hand and squeezing it gently. Thank you for accepting my gift. It really means a lot to me, Katalia. I felt my face heating into a blush and I turned my head to look the other way, using my hair to my face. I decided that I needed to change the subject before my face could get any redder. Do you know any of the warriors that Christopher has enlisted to fight me? I asked him. He looked away for a minute. I could tell he knew, but he did not want to tell me their names. I do. We were each made to give an oath to not tell you the names of those that are scheduled to fight you. I can only give myself away. I figured Justin would be one of them. He was one of the strongest pack warriors, so it would only make sense for Christopher to have him fight me. I knew that if they had found out Justin was my mate, then they would not have allowed him to go through with it. You really think I can do this? I do, love. You underestimate yourself. We each took an oath that we would not give away the other fighters and that we would not go easy on you, since there were several of us that were friends of yours. You have kicked me several times in training already. I am positive that you will be able to do it again. This time we will just have a wide audience, love. Just know I am there for you, even if I am one of your challengers. It felt good to know that I at least had one person that was at my side and was rooting for me. Even if I am nowhere ready to accept Justin as a mate, I am glad that I have him rooting for me in my corner. We finished our coffee and pastries and decided to walk around town. Thank you for helping me take my mind off of everything that is going on. I really needed this. I am shocked that you were not in training. Well, the Alpha decided that I could have used a break too. So, he decided that I could take the day off from all of my duties for the day. As a matter of fact, all of your competitors were relieved of their duties for the day. The only difference is they still had to attend their daily training today. I laughed. Of course, they were all given the day off. Goddess forbid any of them to be too tired to fight me tomorrow. Once we finished walking around town, Justin walked me back to my room at the pack house. We stood outside my door in awkward silence. As I was about to open my door, Justin lightly placed his arms on mine. The sparks when his hand touched my arm were heavenly. I turned to look at him and it looked like he wanted to say something, but was hesitating. I have been thinking about this all day, can I please kiss you? Justin asked me. I froze. Was I ready for that? I will admit that over the past few days, I have been wanting to feel his lips on mine, but I am scared it will trigger something, even though the rogues that raped me never touched my lips. I guess that is one thing they left for me to have when I was ready. I slowly nodded my head. Justin smiled at me softly, as he slowly lowered his head to mine. The moment his lips touched mine, I was met with the wonderful feeling of sparks. He placed his hand on the side of my face and his thumb gently rubbed my cheek. The kiss barely lasted 30 seconds, but I was already wanting another kiss from him. Thank you, love. I will see you in the morning. If you need me, I am just a mind link away, he quietly stated as he turned to leave. I stood there in the doorway of my room and watched him walk away, my fingertips lightly grazing my lips where he had kissed me. Chapter 26. I tossed and turned all night. This is getting to be ridiculous. I cannot sleep to save my life. This is the 5th night that I have struggled to sleep. Ever since I realized that Justin was my mate, it has been like my body has been telling me that something is missing and I will not get any rest to rectify it at all. I contemplated calling Justin for about the 15th time since he had left, just so I could get a good night's rest. At least that is what I have been telling myself. I knew that if I gave in the once, then I will constantly give in and I am just not ready for that. I could always go to Oliver's room. He told me he was staying in the pack house tonight too. Catalia, if you go to Oliver instead of our mate, I will not forgive you. You and I both know that our body does not want Oliver, it wants Justin. You could always stop being so stubborn and just call him. I am sure he will be a perfect gentleman. Sky says irritably. If I can't sleep, then Sky doesn't get sleep. She says that my thoughts keep her up at night and she is not able to tune me out. I swear my wolf is so dramatic. I laid there in silence for another few minutes. What if it doesn't affect him the way it has been affecting me? Will he think I am crazy or laugh at me? Sky was right though, it would not be fair of me to use Oliver in that manner, and I knew that Oliver was not what my body wanted. My body wanted Justin. My mind just was not there. FK it, I might as well do it, I will just lay down some ground rules for Justin, but I need to sleep. I tested the mind link and I could tell that he was trying to sleep. Justin, I hesitantly say through the link. It was silent for a few moments before he responded. Is everything all right? Yeah, well, kind of, not really. I was wondering if you could come over, I have not had a decent night's sleep since before my birthday, and I need my sleep for this challenge tomorrow. I stopped talking, not knowing what else to say. He was silent for a few more minutes. Yeah, I will be there in 10 minutes. I let out a breath I did not realize I was holding. I am glad that he did not question what was going on too much. 8 minutes had barely passed before I heard the knock on my door. I got up and opened the door. I let Justin into the room and we both stood there in an awkward silence. I am sorry that I woke you up. I know you need your sleep too. I say to break the silence. It is perfectly fine, love. I told you to call me if you needed anything. I have struggled with sleeping lately too, but I was not going to ask you for anything you were not ready for. Thank you, Justin. I have just a few rules though, the rules will make me feel better. I struggled with calling you tonight, but my wolf convinced me to. Sure. Anything you want. Nothing will happen. No S**x. No touching. You are allowed to hold me around the waist. That is it. And that is only because this bond is making me crave your touch. Plus, the incessant talking and complaining from my wolf about wanting her mate. If you so choose, once I fall asleep, you may leave. You are not obligated to stay the entire night with me. If you are here in the morning, you cannot shower in here, you must return to your house to get ready for the challenge. Can you agree to my terms? I so hope he would agree with my terms. I was tired. I was tired of fighting this bond. I was tired of not being able to get a good night's rest. Yes, I told you I would agree to anything that you want of me. I promised you nothing will happen until you are ready to take that next step with me. I nodded my head at him and made my way to lay down in my bed. He takes his shirt off and I just started at him. I allowed my gaze to travel along the lines of his well-defined chest. I swallowed loudly and turned my head in the other direction as he made his way to my bed. We laid there in silence before he rolled towards me. He reached his arm over and wrapped it around my waist and his other arm went under my head. He tugged my body backwards to him, so that I was able to feel the hard planes of his chest. Thank you for coming, I mumbled as I felt the darkness beginning to take over. I believe the last thing I heard before I succumbed to the darkness was, "No need to thank me, love. I told you I would do anything for you." I felt his lips on the back of my head and then nothing. Justin's POV. I laid there in silence, just watching my mate sleep in my arms. I was shocked when I felt her push her way through the link. I was having just as much trouble as she was sleeping. I have not been sleeping well. To the point, most nights I end up getting up and reading a book on my phone. I have been running off 2-3 hours of sleep each night, if that. When she linked me tonight, I was ecstatic. I raced over here. I was not going to let this chance pass me by. I was thrilled that I might get to have a decent night's sleep, but now that I am here and I am able to hold her, I cannot stop the thoughts running through my head. I leaned over and buried my head into the side of her neck and inhaled her scent. The smell of her espresso and vanilla scent, mixing with her strawberry-scented shampoo. She smells heavenly. The sparks running up and down my arms, wherever I am touching her, are making it hard to concentrate on falling asleep. I reached down and grabbed my and adjusted it. It was painfully tight, and I was starting to become uncomfortable straining against the fabric of my pants. I would get up and deal with, but I also did not want to leave her. I sighed. I guess I will continue to lay her and think of something to make my painful erection dissipate. When she told me that I did not need to stay all night and I could leave when she fell asleep if I had wanted, I nearly laughed at her. I planned to stay with her all night. Now only for her peace of mind, but for mine too. Catalia starts moving in her sleep, so I loosened my hold on her thinking that was the problem. She starts to whimper in her sleep. I wonder what my little mate is dreaming of? Before I know it, she is starting to thrash in her sleep and her whimpers turns into soft cries. I tried shaking her to wake her, but she doesn't wake despite my best efforts. Catalia, I tried again as I tried shaking her awake. She still does not wake. She starts to full-blown crying in her sleep. I moved myself and rolled her onto her back. I tried to force a mind link through to wake her up, but it still did not work. How do I wake her? I start to shake her again, this time shaking her harder. Catalia. I raised my voice, hoping it would wake her. She woke up with a start and sat up in the bed, gasping for air. I pulled her into my arms, just as she starting sobbing. Shhhh, it is okay, love. It was only a bad dream. I am here. I won't let anything happen to you. I repeatedly told her this over and over while I waited for her to calm down. After about 30 minutes, she started to calm down and the sobs turned into dull hiccups. Kat, do you want to talk about it? I hesitantly asked her. I don't want to overstep, but I cannot help her if she will not tell me what happened to her. She shook her head and mumbled, it was just a bad dream. I don't want to talk about it. I nodded my head at her and leaned back against the headboard. She moved off the top of me and laid next to me, using my chest as her pillow. Sleep tight, my love. I mumbled to her as I heard her breathing even out, indicating that she had fallen back to sleep. I do not know what just happened, but I will find out. I will find out what is troubling her. I will not continue to allow this to happen, even if that means I have to stay with her every night to protect her from her dreams. Chapter 27. Catalia's POV. I woke up to an empty bed. Maybe it was all just a dream that Justin had stayed the night with me. I stretched and got out of bed to go shower and get ready for the challenge. As I was walking to the bathroom, something taped to my dresser caught my attention. It was a folded piece of paper with my name written on it. Catalia, thank you for allowing me to share your bed last night. It was the best sleep that I have had in a while. I am sorry that I had to leave before you woke up. Christopher linked the warriors participating in the challenge and we are required to meet with him before you arrive, so I had to leave to get ready. I will see you later. I am rooting for you. Good luck, even if you don't need it. Justin. So, I guess it wasn't my imagination. I did break down and asked him to stay the night with me. Oh no, that means he was really there and woke me up from my nightmare. I hope he forgets that it happened and doesn't ask me about what happened during the dream. I hopped in the shower and I let the steaming hot water run over my body. I cannot wait until this challenge is over. I wonder which warriors I will be dealing with. I know Justin is one and I am sure that Garrison will be one too, he is one of the top-ranked warriors in the pack. I finished my shower and grabbed a pair of short leggings and a sports bra. As I was about to leave the room, there was a knock on the door. I yelled for them to come in as I started to put my shoes and socks on. Michael, Elijah, and Oliver opened the door and walked in. "How are you doing?" Oliver asked me. I shrugged. "I am fine. A little nervous, but nothing I cannot handle." "I wouldn't be worried. I know you are going to kick. You always do." Michael encouraged me. "Yeah, I wish I had not had to participate in this. I will never admit that you scare me sometimes, except this once." "You are brutal and you are not going to care that I am your brother," Elijah joked. "He isn't wrong though. I will take him down and, unfortunately, Elijah's training was not as rigorous as Michael and I's training. He is strong and fierce, but I have more experience and training than he does. His main saving grace is the fact that he will be fighting me alongside Michael, which gives him someone closer to my caliber. Maybe you will get lucky and by the time that I fight you, I will be too tired to do too much damage to you." Everyone laughed at my comment to Elijah. I finished putting on my shoes and we started to make our way to the training grounds. "I was surprised Dad did not want you there when King Lucas arrived." "He arrived about 2 hours ago. The visiting alphas and the king are currently waiting at the training grounds," Michael told me. "Speaking of the training grounds, what in the world did Christopher want with the warriors that were scheduled for the challenge?" I asked. I am shocked that you heard about that. He did it at the last minute because he was hoping you would not find out, he was giving them final ground rules. I, also, think he was trying to convince them all that you did not need to win and that none of them should take it easy on you. Not that any of them they chose would take it easy on you. Some of them have waited ages to take you on," Michael said as he was laughing. "I doubt anyone is going to take it easy on me," I told Michael. The training grounds were transformed overnight and it was sort of miraculous. Over by the training outhouse stood a stage that had been added and it now had several seats. Then, encompassing the circumference of the grounds, were bleachers. The bleachers were mostly full and there were even more people loitering around the edges of the field. I stopped and took a deep breath, allowing the boys to walk ahead of me. "We can do this, Sky encouraged me. I gulped. Goddess, I hoped I could do this. There were roughly 17 challengers if I counted correctly. The more I thought about this, the more I thought about how much the elders must hate me in order to try to force me to step down. If they couldn't get me to willingly step down, then they were going to try and force it with this challenge. I can and I will do this." I looked at the stage and I saw a tall man with dark brown hair and forest green hair and sitting next to him was a female with light blonde hair and baby blue eyes. "Who is that?" I linked Michael. "That would be King Lucas and his Luna, Everly. Standing behind him is his guardian, Sebastian. Sebastian is supposed to be the guardian for Lucas and Everly. However, Lucas made it known that if need arose while he was in our territory that his primary focus would be Everly and not him," Michael told me through the link. At that moment, my father finally noticed I was there. He was talking to Christopher when he waved me over. "Are you ready for this?" He linked me. "As ready as I will ever be." "Ah, Catalia, you have finally arrived. Thank you for agreeing to do this for us to show us old folk what you are truly capable of," Christopher said to me. "Anything for you, elder. Too bad you decided to have anyone participate in this challenge besides any of the elders. I would have died to fight one of you instead of a warrior," I sarcastically responded to him. As I responded, the king and his Luna walked up, with his guardian trailing behind them. She is a feisty one. The king says as he looks at his Luna, this must be the young Catalia. I have heard so many things about you. This is my Luna, Everly. I bowed slightly to the king and his Luna. It is a pleasure to meet you, King Lucas, Luna Everly. Thank you for attending this pointless challenge that the elders have presented me with. Luna Everly chuckled. She is definitely feisty, Lucas. I like her already. I can tell she is definitely like you, Alpha Michael. She has your fire and the mouth that will get her into trouble. These are my favorite type of women. My father chuckled at the Luna's remarks. Luna, she is definitely something else. She is a sight to behold. I just know she is going to do great things with this pack. Christopher did not respond to any of my comments. He just stood there glaring at me. I do not know what he expected. He knew I was not pleased about this challenge. He knew that I thought it was pointless. Your Highness, Luna. It is about time we started. If you should go ahead and take your seats, Christopher said. Once the king sat in his seat, my father cleared his throat. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time we began the challenge. Will the challengers please come to the front of the stage? As I am watching, I see the 10 warriors that the elders picked, along with the Beta, Gamma, my brothers, Oliver and James. This was going to be fun. Not. It looks like my challengers consisted of Justin, Gail, Garrison, Liam, Caleb, Jean, Elias, Amir, Jessica, and Aziel. I was surprised to see Jessica there. I did not think the elders would have chosen any of the female warriors. Justin gave me a small smile and nodded his head to me. This is a challenge to determine if Catalia is strong and capable enough to be your next alpha. Catalia will fight with the first 10 warriors before you. This will be done in a battle royale style. At any point in time, any of the warriors can join the fight. The only rule is that you cannot kill. The fight continues until either one submits or they are rendered unconscious. I expect a nice, clean fight out of all of you. If I suspect that anyone is cheating or is using any enhancers during this fight, they will be automatically disqualified. She will then be challenged by the future Beta and Gamma, Oliver and James. Once Catalia successfully clears that trial, she will go against Michael and Elijah. Finally, if she is able to clear that trial, she will then fight the current Beta, Gamma, and myself. In between each trial, Catalia will be given the chance to be checked by the pack doctor, rest, and rehydrate before returning to the battlefield once given the all clear. Are there any questions? He asked. All my challengers shook their heads no. My father looked at me and nodded his head. Good luck, Catalia. Remember your training. I believe in you. Prove to them why you deserve this title. My father linked me before he told my first set of challengers to get ready. Chapter 28. I stood in the middle of the training grounds as the warriors circled the edge of the makeshift arena. I could tell the warriors were all linking with each other, probably to decide on their best possible strategy. I crouched down into a fighting stance, ready to lunge, as I keep my senses open for the first move from the warriors. I was going to let them make the first move. I am hoping my strategy works. I know some of the warriors, such as Garrison, get sloppy when he gets mad. I plan to get them worked up, toy with them, if you will, so they will start making mistakes. Once they start making mistakes, then they are mine. They are easier to take down when they are angry, as long as I can stay in control of my emotions. Justin is the first one to lunge at me. I quickly dodged to the left, just as Gale lunged at my other side. I quickly ducked down and swung my left leg towards him. As my leg connected with Gale's feet, he loses his footing and falls backwards, his head slamming to the ground. I focused my attention on Justin. He throws his left arm, aiming for my face. I dodged at the last second and grabbed his arm. I caught his arm, twisted it behind his back, and threw him away from me to the ground. I heard someone sneaking behind me and I spun around and flipped Jessica over and threw her to the ground. Gale got back up and I aimed towards him. He aimed to kick me in the chest, when I slid between his legs and got up behind him. I pressed 2 fingers onto the right side of his Adam apple. Gale yelped in pain before spinning and grabbing my hand before I could move it. He roughly squeezed my hand before twisting it behind my back. I screamed in pain, hearing several of my bones break. I break free from his hold, just as Garrison joined the fight. "Look who finally came to play," I said to Garrison. I aimed my fist at his face, going straight for his nose. I made contact with his nose and heard the audible crunch, just as blood spurted from his nose. "We have to start getting some of these warriors out. I am going to tire quickly if I continue fighting all 10 of them at once," I said to Sky. "Let's prepare for the shift. It might be easier with a broken hand. I can heal us quicker in wolf form," she said. I shifted just as Elias, Amir, and Liam joined the fight in their wolf form. I was surrounded by the 3 wolves. The 3 of them ran at me at the same time and I jumped into the air, aiming to land behind them. They were not able to stop their running in time to avoid colliding with each other. Ouch, that must have hurt. I dodged out of the way just as Jean joined the fight. Jean went to jump onto my back when I spun around and latched my mouth around his left arm and squeezed him tightly. He screamed in pain and I heard a few of his bones shattered. I tossed Jean's body and I stalked over to him. Just as I was about to knock him out, Jean bares his neck to me, submitting to me. Well, that was easy, he did not put up much of a fight. One thing I learned about Jean was his left arm was his weakness and his pain tolerance in that arm alone was very low. 1 down, 9 to go. I heard cheering from the crowd as one of the nurses made their way to where Jean was to get him off of the field. The last 2 warriors, Aziel and Caleb, finally joined the fight. Aziel shifted into his magnificent black wolf and Caleb stayed in his human form. Caleb jumped onto my back and entangled his hands in my fur as Aziel aimed to attack my left side. I barely twisted out of his grasp, as Caleb wrapped his arms around my neck, effectively cutting off my air supply. I tried to shake Caleb off my back, but he had an iron grip around my neck and it was proving to be futile. Aziel continued to attack me from one side, just as Garrison joined the fight, as did his wolf from my other side. How do I get out of this? I had to do something quickly before I completely lost all of my air supply. Garrison jumps and aims to attack my left flank. His teeth wrapped around my flank just as I lunged towards Aziel. I knocked Aziel back and aimed for his right flank, ignoring the pain from Garrison on my left flank. I heard a low growl coming from behind me. I did not want to think about who it came from, so I pushed it far out of my mind. I let go of Aziel's right flank and pushed him back again. My air supply was slowly running out and the pain in my left flank was reaching unbearable heights. I lunged at Aziel again, this time aiming for his neck. I wrapped my teeth around his neck gently and squeezed him. He slowly shifted back into his human form and bared his neck to me. 2 down, 8 to go. Now to find some way to get out of Caleb and Garrison's hold. I had the perfect idea. Hopefully it worked. It could end badly for me if it did not work. I quickly shifted into my human form, which caught both of them off guard. I felt Garrison's teeth slip from me and Caleb's hold loosened enough for me to slip from his grasp. I limped out of the way and shifted back to Sky. I pushed Sky forward and pushed myself backwards. I was too injured and in too much pain to focus on my surroundings, so I let Sky take control while I watched, and if I needed to, then I would jump in. Justin and Gale looked at each other. Gale mumbled, "She let her wolf have control. Now we are FKD. I guess he heard the rumors about Sky. Sky was vicious when left to her own devices. The warriors used to hate training when we had to train with our wolves because sometimes, I would push myself to the back and let Sky have complete control over me." Gale quickly shifted into his wolf before lunging at Sky. Sky quickly jumped out of his way, placing her weight on the 3 paws that were not injured. We had a big limp from where Garrison tore into our flank and it hurt. Gale quickly recovers and lunges again, knocking Sky to the ground. Garrison joins with Gale and lunges towards me and tears into my left side before Sky can recover from Gale knocking me down. I pushed myself forward to be with Sky, just as she let out a loud whimper. Gale stalked towards me and then lunged at my throat, but before he could latch on, I heard a loud growl followed by someone growling, "Mine." Chapter 29. Gale and Garrison paused in their attacks and I turned my head towards where the sound came from. "Justin!" The crowd went completely silent. You could hear a pin drop. "Well, everyone will know that he is my mate now. There is no hiding it. Justin, look at me. I am fine. Only a little injured. I will take care of them. Relax." I linked him. He looked at me and I could see the anger in his eyes. He didn't want to back down. I could tell he wanted blood, specifically Gale and Garrison's. I watched his expression turn dark before he nodded his head at me. "Are you sure, Cot? I cannot stand to see them injure you." He finally linked me back. "I understand, Justin, but I promise I am fine. I can and will handle the remaining 8 of you." He nodded his head at me and I used the distraction that Justin had caused to throw Garrison off me and to lunge at Gale's throat. I caught Gale off guard as I wrapped my teeth around his throat and squeezed him. As I had my teeth on his throat, I used my right claw and swiped at his side, causing his blood to gush all over my fur. Gale slowly tilted his head in submission. 3 down, 7 to go. The crowd erupted in cheers when Gale submitted to me. Once I released him, I turned my full attention to Garrison. Ready to play, I linked him. His wolf laughed. "You have no idea, baby," he responded. I laughed at Garrison. He is lucky that I like him enough not to kill him every time he calls me baby, but I have learned that Garrison is a big flirt and he calls most females baby. Garrison lunged at me and I twisted my body out of his way before he could attack me. That was close. I lunged towards Garrison and knocked him to the ground. I felt someone coming up behind me, so I kicked my hind legs backwards, knocking them down. I heard a quiet grunt and realized that it must have been Jessica. I was wondering what happened to her. She had been out of most of the action. I lunged back towards Garrison, aiming for his side, and I bit down, hard. I heard the crunch of at least one of his ribs, his blood gushing everywhere, when he whimpered. I released his hand and aimed for his throat. Before I could catch his throat, he shifted to his human form and bared his neck to me. It looked bad too. I could see his bone from where I bit him. That was definitely going to take some time to heal and it was going to hurt him. 4 down, 6 to go. I was almost halfway there. Just had to continue a little longer. I was starting to feel the fatigue set in. Jessica and Amir rushed at me, both in their wolf forms, and I was not able to dodge both. Jessica was able to wrap her teeth around my left flank and I whimpered loudly. "It hurts." I heard the bone crunch under her teeth and I growled loudly, giving both of them pause. I tried shaking her off, but she would not budge. I take my front paws and make an effort to swipe at her face. I was finally able to make a small swipe and it distracted her enough for me to dislodge from her mouth. Just as I broke free from her, Justin lunged at me, aiming for my throat. I was able to move enough for him to miss my throat. Instead, his mouth latched onto my jaw and I cried out in pain. I heard the crunch of my jaw breaking. I had not realized that he shifted into his wolf. When Justin realized that he had my jaw, he immediately let go of my jaw and he whimpered at the pain he caused me. He backed up slightly to allow me to get my bearing. He forced the link, "I am so sorry. I aimed for your throat, love. I am trying not to hurt you. Don't apologize. I am fine. You are doing what you are meant to do. Don't take it easy on me because I am your mate. Prove to them I am worthy of my title." The elders would not have let Justin participate if they knew he was my mate. This is why mated couples typically do not fight. They struggle to harm each other. Justin is the perfect example. They cannot stand to see their mate in pain or to get hurt, especially for something as pointless and futile as this. As soon as I closed the link, I lunged at Jessica and shifted into my human form at the last second, landing onto her back. I tightly wrapped my arms around her neck and squeezed, cutting off her air supply. I ignored the excruciating pain in my arm and continued cutting off her air. She struggled and started lashing back and forth, trying to get me off of her. Finally, the fight leaves her and she slumps to the ground. She passed out. 5 down, 5 to go. Liam and Caleb used this as the perfect opportunity to come at me in the same way. I punched at both Liam and Caleb, hitting them in their trachea. Caleb made a retching sound. While they were distracted, I grabbed both of them by their wolf's ear and I slammed their heads together. Caleb lay on the ground and I gave him a minute to see what his next move was before he, surprisingly, tilted his head at me in submission. I looked towards Liam and saw he was tilting his head towards me in submission too. 7 down, 3 to go. I looked at my remaining opponents. Justin, Amir, and Elias. Elias looks pretty injured and so does Amir. The only one that has minimal damage is Justin. I picked this time to go ahead and shift back to Sky. I looked at the glazed look in their eyes and realized they were linking to each other. "Caught, we don't want to fight you anymore," Elias said to me. I laughed. Of course, they don't. Why would they? Both Elias and Amir tilt their heads in submission to me. I guess that was easy. They just leave Justin. 9 down, 1 to go. Justin and I stared at each other as if we were having a staring contest. Justin rushes at me and I am barely able to dodge him. I could tell I was losing a lot of blood from my wounds. I was starting to feel lightheaded and dizzy. I need to end this now. I decided to use Justin's weakness against him. It was cheating, since his weakness was me. He was held captive by this bond of ours, a bond that I did not want, right? Justin turned back towards me and lunged for my throat. I rolled on the ground to dodge out of the way and I whimpered from the pain. Justin looked at me and I could, with that one look, Justin did not want to continue. I lunged at Justin and aimed for his throat. I wrapped my teeth around his throat and gently bit down. His wolf sighed with relief as he slowly tilted his head towards me in submission. As soon as I acknowledged Justin's submission, I collapsed. Justin's POV: as soon as she collapsed, I rushed to her side and caught her before she could hit the ground. I knew she hurt, I didn't want to fight her while she was that injured, especially after I accidentally broke her jaw. Christopher, the rest of the elders, and the Alpha rushed over to us as I started to walk caught to the pack doctor. "When were you going to tell us you were her mate?" Christopher demanded of me. "It was none of your business. It was not information that neither one of us had to divulge to you." She was not ready to tell anyone and, quite frankly, neither was I. "Now, if you excuse me, I need to go get my mate looked at." Christopher glared at me. "Who do you think you are? You cannot talk to an elder like that without being punished," he said while looking at Alpha Michael. "If we had known you were her mate, we would never let you anywhere near this challenge. You could have ruined everything." He then turned to the Alpha. "I demand to see Justin punished for lying to us and for his blatant disrespect of me." The Alpha scoffed before replying, "He did not lie to anyone. You never asked any of the warriors if they had a personal connection with Catalia. He is only being disrespectful to you because you are disrespecting him and his right to privacy." I nodded my head towards the Alpha and continued making my way to the pack doctor, Lee. I finally spotted her trying to get through the crowd to reach us. She had a stretcher with her. I know that her hand was broken, her jaw was broken, she has some pretty nasty bites and gashes. I told Lee as I gently laid her down on the stretcher. "She has capable hands, Justin. I promise I will make sure she is okay for you," she assured me before she wheeled my mate away. "That sure was a tough fight. I was shocked you outed yourself as her mate." Everyone was shocked about it. The Alpha told me. "I saw red when Gale was stalking towards her. I wanted to protect her and I didn't want him touching what was mine. I lost control and I regret it because I knew she did not want anyone to know that she was my mate. I could not control my behavior," I told him as I stared at the area the doctor had caught. "I do not blame you, Justin. You are a better man than most. Most would not have been able to do what you did. Most would have snapped the minute that Elias and Caleb attacked their mate. I applaud you for the restraint that you showed." At that moment, King Lucas and Luna Everly chose to walk up. I bowed my head to both of them as they stopped to talk to Alpha Michael. "Justin, is it?" King Lucas asked me. "Yes, sir. I just wanted to commend you on your performance out there. We were all waiting with a bated breath the moment that Catalia got hurt for you to snap. You see, Luna Everly has a special gift. She can see mate bonds, even if they have not officially acknowledged their bonds. From the moment that we had met Catalia and then saw you on the field waiting, she told me that she could see your bond. We were shocked that you were chosen as a warrior to fight against Catalia. It was just a few minutes ago we learned the only reason you were out there was because the elders did not know that Catalia had found her mate. Catalia has been struggling to come to terms with our bond, so she asked that we not tell anyone and that it stay between us. I thought I could do this and it would be fine. I did not think I would lose control, but when I saw Gale gunning for her, I lost it." King Lucas nodded his head. "It is expected, young man. No one expects you to be able to attack your mate or even watch her be attacked and not want to defend her. We saw your shock and horror when she moved and you ended up catching her jaw instead of her throat. Even my Luna cried a little at the pain you must have felt at that moment. If you ever choose to, I have openings on my personal guard, and I would not mind having someone of your caliber on my team. You are definitely a strong warrior." "Thank you, sir. I appreciate the offer, but I think that I am going to remain where I am at a little while longer. I want to see where this goes with my mate. Plus, she is slated to be the next Alpha and I would not be able to handle leaving her, even if she chose to reject me." At that moment, I received a link from Lee. "Alpha. Justin. Both of you need to come and see me. We had to move Catalia to the pack hospital. However, I will need both of your consent. Chapter 30. Justin's POV, I hope she is okay. I should have stopped the fight earlier than I did, but I did not want to come off as too demanding or make her feel like she was not capable of making decisions on her own. Alpha Michael and I rushed to the Pack Hospital's emergency area. Lee was waiting at the front desk, waiting for us. Please tell me she is all right, I pleaded with Lee. Justin, she is fine. She needs a blood transfusion and we are technically not allowed to give out transfusions without permission from her parents or, in some cases, their mate, especially when she is still underage. She lost a lot of blood from the fight. A couple of her wounds needed dissolvable stitches until her wolf could fully heal her. Of course, you have permission to give her the transfusion, Alpha Michael told her. The Alpha and I took a seat in the waiting room while Lee rushed off to give Kot the transfusion. She will be all right, you know. She is strong. She will overcome this. Michael told me. I know she is. I just am not looking forward to when she comes to and realizes that everyone knows about me being her mate. She was adamant that no one was to find out until if and when she was ready. Katalia will live. Maybe this will push her to get to know you more before thinking about rejecting you. Several hours passed before Lee came back out. She is awake now and is doing fine. She has requested to speak with both of you, but she wants to do it individually. You can go ahead and go first, Justin, I will wait. I followed Lee to the room that Katalia was placed in. She opened the door for me before leaving. I walked in and Katalia was sitting up, drinking water. Hey! Hey yourself! Can we talk for a moment? She asked me. Sure. What's up? I was not ready for everyone to know that you were my mate. I cannot handle the pressure of being your mate when I am not sure that I want a mate, that I want you. I just stared at her, arranging my face into a clear canvas. I don't want her to see how much her words were bothering me. I knew this was coming. I hope she doesn't reject me, but if she does, I won't accept it. I will continue fighting for her. I know this is not what you wanted to hear, Justin. I am no good to you. I will just hurt you. Break you. You deserve someone that can give you their all and I just can't. I have too much going on in my life. I have had too much happen to me, I finally couldn't take it anymore. I cannot continue listening to her talk about herself negatively. She is already giving up. She isn't even trying to give us a chance. What happened to wanting to give us a chance? What happened to giving us a chance? What happened to not wanting to upset Sky? If you reject me, I will not accept it. I will continue fighting for you, for us. I am sorry that I accidentally outed you, I did not mean to. I couldn't continue watching them hurt you. Then, if I had done what I wanted to, I would have been disqualified and then punished. When I was watching Gale stalking towards you, that was when I snapped. He could have seriously injured you and I was expected to sit back and watch that happen. Only to come to the realization that I have 3 more fights to watch you go through. You cannot expect me to just sit back and watch you get hurt. It kills me. What makes it 10 times worse for me is the fact that you 100% expect me to sit there and watch it happen and not do a thing about it. I told them this God challenge was unfair and no one would listen to me. By the time I had finished, I was yelling. Aries whimpered in my head. It will be okay, bud. We will not accept her rejection. We will make her see reason. I told him softly. Justin, do not make this any harder than it is. I understand where you are coming from. I know that it was wrong for me to expect you to be completely fine with the first challenge. I understand that the male wolf in you is protective over your mate. The fact is, I am too broken, Justin. You do not want someone that is broken, damaged. I cannot be what you need. You cannot tell me what I need and what I don't need. I can be the judge of that, and I know what I want. I want you. Only you. No one else. Please just give me a chance. I will do whatever it is that you need to show that I am not going to leave if it gets hard. It is unfair for you to say that I will leave you or judge you because you think that you are broken and damaged when you will not tell me what happened to you to cause you to feel this way. I could help you if you would just let me in. Let me love you, Caught. Let me be there for you. Don't shut me out because you are scared to take a chance on something that is unknown to you. I am already falling in love with you, Caught, and no, it is not just the mate bond. I was already falling in love with you before I knew you were my mate. Please. Just give me a chance. That is all I am asking for. I finished. I heard my voice break at the end. I did not want to sound desperate and I did not want to feel or sound weak in front of her, but she needed to hear it. She needed to know how I felt. This would break me, I whispered. I wasn't sure if she heard me until she looked at me with sadness and guilt in her eyes. Good luck with the rest of your challenges. I will be watching and cheering you on. I will try not to get upset or freak out during the challenge, I said as I walked out the door. At least if I left before she could do or say anything, then she couldn't reject me. I stood outside her door, leaning against the door. I felt the tears running down my face. I never cry. Crying is a weakness that I never show. I stood there for a few minutes trying to compose myself. Once I think I am fine, I make my way to the waiting room and tell the alpha that she is ready for him before I walk out, not saying another word to him. Chapter 31. Catalia's POV. I knew I had hurt him. I just couldn't bear the thought of me destroying him because I cannot get over my trauma. I felt tears slowly rolling down my face as Justin shut the door. Wouldn't it just be better for me to cut the cord, so to speak, and get the hurt out of the way? At least this way, he would be able to move on with his life. Currently, Justin is wrapped up in wanting to be with me, but I do not think he could handle me, handle my trauma. Would he think of me differently because I had been touched by another man? I was no longer pure and it bothered me. How can I give myself to someone when someone has already taken everything that I had to give? My father walked in as I was quietly sobbing to myself. What happened to Justin? He did not look happy when he left, and you don't look happy now, daughter. I hesitated. Do I have permission to speak freely, Dad? Of course. When have I ever restricted anything you children have said? I want you to be honest with your mother and me. We do not want you to hide anything, including your feelings and thoughts. I all but implied that I wanted to reject him. Dad, I am too broken and damaged. I would destroy him. He deserves to be with someone that can put their 100% all into it, and I am not it, Dad. How can I begin to explain to him the thoughts that go through my head? How do I tell him about my nightmares? I can't explain what I have been through to him. He would surely leave. My dad slowly shakes his head at me. First, you are not damaged and broken. When I look at you, I see someone that is resilient when faced with impossible circumstances. They did not break you, baby girl. You will not give them the pleasure of taking away your happiness. Second, do you really think so low of Justin, that he would just leave when things get too hard? Justin is one of my warriors and I have nothing but good things to say about him. Same with Gamma Shan, who is around him at least 95% of the time. He would be good for you. He would help you overcome your trauma. You just have to let him. We have all refused to tell him what happened to you because that is something that would be best coming from you, but please put him out of his misery. He is going crazy trying to figure out what happened to you to make you so closed off. At least do me a favor. Tell him what happened before you reject him. Give him a chance to surprise you. I promise you his response will not be what you think it is. Give him the chance to prove you wrong. I love you, Kot, and I will stand by what you choose, but I do not want you to make a big mistake. I sat in silence. Was I being unfair to Justin? Yes, Kot, you are. You kept telling me that you would give him a chance, but I haven't seen you actually give him a chance. You haven't opened up to him. You haven't given him the time of day to show that he cares, to show that he will not leave at the drop of a hat. Today, when you were talking to him, I could feel his wolf breaking. They want us, Kot. Why can't we at least try? At the very least, do what Dad suggested and give him the chance to prove your thoughts wrong. If he reacts in a negative way, then you can reject him. I won't stop you, but I want you to try and trust our mate. Sky has been Justin's biggest fan since she learned who our mate was. Would it really be fair of me to punish my wolf for my insecurities? I guess I will do what my dad suggested. Hopefully, he does not run. If he runs, if he hates me afterwards, I don't know what I will do. I think that will break me more than anything. Fine, Dad. I will take your suggestion. Before I fully decide to reject him, I will tell him my trauma. My secret. I will see how he takes it. Good. Kot, I knew you would make the right choice. Are you ready for the next part of your challenge? I nodded my head and slowly stood out of bed. The doctor had someone bring me another set of workout clothes, since I had shredded my clothes already. We stood up and left the Pack Hospital. Dr. Lee had already told me that I could leave when I was ready. Everything looked fine and I had healed pretty nicely, minus the few dissolvable stitches I needed to close up a few of the nastier wounds. Here goes nothing. I walked back onto the field and the crowd erupted into cheers. I stood in the center of the ring, awaiting Christopher to signal the next set of challengers. Good evening, everyone. We are now ready for the second challenge to take place. In the first challenge, Katalia was able to successfully take down all 10 of her competitors, even if the last 3 submitted to her by default. The next challenge will feature our future Beta, Oliver Haywood, and our future Gamma, James Steele. Will the challengers please come forward? Christopher's voice boomed across the makeshift stadium. Oliver and James walked out, prepared for our challenge. Let's make this a clean match. You may take your place and begin. I prepared my stance and refused to make the first move against James and Oliver. I knew the fighting styles of both men and I knew what I was going against. As future Gamma, James would help his father lead training some days. Oliver, I already knew, was a worthy opponent from the years that I watched him train with his father and alongside Michael. Oliver made the first move by swinging his fist, aiming for my face. Always the face. Why can't they aim for something other than the face? I dodged to the left and used my elbow to whip around and hit him in the stomach. He makes a grunt before coming at me again. He used his leg to kick me straight in the chest. I saw it coming at the last second and didn't see it coming. FK, that hurt. James locked his arms around my neck from behind. I was so engrossed in the fight with Oliver that I nearly forgot about James and did not hear him sneaking up behind me. His arms were effectively cutting off my air supply. Oliver aimed another kick into my chest, while James held me in a position that would not allow me to dodge his attack. I need to figure out how to get out of James' grip. I aimed my foot backwards and hit James in his groins. He grunts, while falling to the ground, letting go of my neck. It was a low blow, but all is fair in love and war. Right? I swung my other foot around and knocked Oliver's feet out from under him. While Oliver was on the ground, I swung around to deal with James. I swung my arm back and punched James in the face. I heard the crunch of his nose breaking as blood was splattered all over my face. I heard Oliver get off the ground and I dodged to my right. Oliver's foot missed me by mere centimeters before it crashed into James' face. Ouch! That had to S**K. The crowd cheered. I looked over at James and he was starting to slowly get back to his feet. That was a low blow, caught, he said to me as he got to his feet. I smiled at him innocently. All is fair in love and war, love. Oliver laughed and then lunged at me again. This time he partially shifted and used his claw to grasp my side as I turned to dodge his initial attack. I felt my blood running down my sides from his attack. He wants to play like that? Fine. I will show him how dirty I could play. James and Oliver lunged at me at the same time. James aimed for my face, while Oliver went for the low attack and tried to sweep my feet out from under me. I was able to avoid James' attack, but Oliver was able to knock me off my feet. I fell backwards and landed on me. I quickly got back up. I needed to come up with a game plan to quickly eliminate the two of them. James rushed at me again and, instead of dodging him, I let him get close to me. Right as he got close to me, I partially shifted and used my claws to rake down James' chest, from his right shoulder to his left side. He lets out a guttural scream before clenching his side to try to stem the bleeding. While holding his side, James rushed at me and shifted mid-run. Well, I wasn't ready to shift and I was not particularly fond of fighting his wolf in my human form. His wolf ran into me, knocking me down, and hovering over me. The field was completely silent as they waited to see what James was going to do to me. His wolf snaps at my face and I popped him on the nose. It distracted him enough and allowed me to raise my knee and kick his wolf in the stomach and flip him over me. I got up and the wolf came at me again. I dodged his wolf and grabbed a handful of his fur before using it to pull myself on top of his wolf. I wrapped my arms around his wolf's neck, cutting off his air supply. I gripped as tightly as I could. His wolf struggled to get me off of him, when I felt his wolf slowly sink to the ground. His wolf had passed out. I quickly climbed off of his wolf so that the pack doctor could come and retrieve him from the field. Chapter 32. Now that it was just Oliver and I wasn't too worried about the fight. Oliver was strong and a great fighter, but I was better at combat than he was. Oliver lunged at me again and partially shifted. He aimed his claw towards my rib cage and he barely grazed my ribs. I felt my skin break open and I hissed in pain. I decided that the only way I was going to get the one-up on Oliver would be to surprise him with a shift. That shouldn't be too hard, right? We circled each other for a few minutes, before I decided to make the first attack. He stepped to the side to avoid me, but my fist still caught the edge of his jaw. He aims his foot at my chest and manages to kick me back. I rushed at him, jumped into the air and shifted. I knocked him down and latched my teeth into his arm and bit down hard. I tasted the metallic of his blood rush into my mouth. Oliver screamed in pain while he tried to dislodge my teeth from his arm. I took my claws and scratched his chest. I could see the pain in his face and while I hated hurting him, I was ready for this to end. He realized that I was not going to let up anytime soon, so he tilted his head in submission. Once he submitted, I quickly let go of his arm and shifted back into my human form. Caught, that hurt, Oliver grumbled at me. I had to end it quickly, which is what I did. I shrugged at him. Several nurses rush over to Oliver to check him over. His bite did look pretty nasty. One of the nurses looked at my wounds. She clucks her tongue at me. Dr. Lee is not going to be too happy with you, Catalia. You ripped open the stitches she put in earlier. It is going to take a lot more stitches to fix this. James really did a number on you with his claws, and so did Oliver. I laughed. I guess they did get me pretty good, hey? This reminded me of having to spar with them in wolf/human form during training. At least my blood is not all over the place like it was after the last challenge. My father, Michael, and Christopher walked over. Well done, Catalia. We are proud of you. Are you going to need any downtime before you begin the challenge with your brothers? No, Alpha. I think I will be fine. I just need some water and to go to the bathroom and then I will be ready. I saw the look on the nurse's face and added, after I get some new stitches, of course. I don't want to be stuck bleeding out all over the place, now would I? My father laughed. Go ahead and get everything taken care of, so we can begin your next challenge. I rushed off to get some water and go to the bathroom. Once I finished, I met the nurse at the nurse's station and she began to stitch me up. Even though I all but pushed Justin away earlier, I am kind of upset that he did not come to say anything to me after this fight. I never realized how much I enjoyed talking to Justin. Maybe he reached his final straw with me and decided to stay away. Maybe he finally had some sense knocked into him and realized that I really was no good for him. Justin's POV, goddess, Catalia was so infuriating. I wanted to go talk to her after the fight with Oliver and James, but I didn't want to take the risk of her rejecting me on the spot. I would at least prefer, if she decided to reject me, then at least do it in private. However, I wouldn't put it past her to not do it. Watching her fight those two was nerve-wracking for me. I kept thinking about what was going to happen if she was too injured. I remember how much blood she was losing when she fought the 10 of us and I was going to freak out. I tried telling myself that maybe I should skip watching the rest of the fights, but for some reason I just couldn't get myself to get up and walk away. I hope she sees reason soon. All I ask for is an honest opportunity, where she takes a risk and trusts me. I could be what she needed. I listened to the conversation that she had with her father, Michael, and the nurse from afar. I knew she was going to need more stitches. I could tell that James had caused her stitches to rip back open. I think that was one of the scarier things that I have seen happen to her and, frankly, it scared me. I looked at the field and saw her walking onto the field with the Alpha and Christopher. The prick. I can't wait until Catalia proves the elders wrong. She can do this. She is capable. Even without a man by her side. She is a force to be reckoned with. Welcome back, Catalia has successfully overcome the first 2 challenges. We are going to switch things up for these last 2 challenges. Instead of 2 separate challenges, Catalia will need to fight them at once, much in the same way that she had to do the first challenge. This challenge will consist of the other 2 alpha children, the ones that should have been made alpha. As soon as Christopher spoke that, the entire crowd yelled their disagreement with their statement. I watched Catalia's expressions throughout his speech. I could tell that she was pissed. He must not have said anything to her beforehand, so she wasn't prepared for this change in events. Christopher continued on as if nothing was said. Elijah and Michael Frost and she will face our current ranking members. Alpha Michael, Beta Damon, and Gamma Sean. Good luck and let the challenge commence. I gritted my teeth at his words as I looked at Catalia as she prepared herself in the center of the field, surrounded by her competitors. Elijah was the first one to do something quite unheard of, and I honestly thought that Catalia was going to kill him. Elijah made no move to attack her, instead he fell to his knees in front of Catalia and bared his head to her in submission. Before I knew it, Michael dropped to his knees, and bared his head to her in submission too. Wow! I did not see that coming. The crowd gasped and several members of the crowd started to cheer for her. While there were a few members who were shouting their disagreement with what Michael and Elijah had just done. The crowd watched with a bated breath to see how the current ranked members were going to react. I watched in amazement as Beta Damon and Gamma Shan both dropped to their knees and offered her their submission. Catalia was facing my direction and I observed her facial expressions. I could see the tears in her eyes as she watched them offer her their submission. Finally, the Alpha spoke. Catalia, they didn't want to fight you. They have already accepted you as their next Alpha. I will not fight you either. You have been through enough today and I appreciate all that you have done to prove that you are worthy of this title. I am proud to not only call you my daughter, but my successor. As he spoke his last words, he tilted his head in submission towards Catalia too. Catalia looked into my eyes and I offered her a small smile. I turned my head to see Christopher's reaction and you could tell he was pissed. He looked as if he was ready to kill. They do have the expression, if looks could kill. Chapter 33. Catalia's POV. Wow, I never saw that coming. I did not think that they would all submit to me without a fight. I figured my dad and brothers would at least put up a fight. I knew this was not going to go over well with the elders. They were very cautionary and they did not enjoy people finding ways around their schemes, and that was what just happened. They had found a loophole that did not involve fighting me, which, if we are being honest, I am kind of glad. My body was tired and screaming at me for not allowing it to rest. Maybe it was an actual blessing in disguise that they decided not to fight me. There you have it. Catalia will be the next Alpha, my father began. Wait a minute. Christopher yelled. She did not fulfill her end of the challenges. She was to defeat each of you, but instead she did not. You yielded to her without a fight, which disqualifies her. First, do not interrupt your Alpha. You may be a pack elder, but that is a rank that I can immediately strip from you at any point of time. I have only put up with you because you were one of my father's most trusted advisors. However, you are not going to continue with my daughter. The crowd cheered when he said that. You never said how she had to get us to submit. Only that she needed to either render us incapable of fighting or we had to submit to her. Every single one of us submitted to her. We see her as the future Alpha of this pack and you will do good to remember that. I will not continue to put up with you attacking her because of choices that are out of her control. My father yelled. Christopher started to walk towards me, as if he was going to attack me. I glanced over at Justin and saw him stand up in the crowd as if he was about to come and intervene if he felt that I was in danger. You do not have the authority to deem her the next Alpha, only the elders can approve that. She may be your heir, but you still have to have a majority vote within the elders in order for her to become Alpha. Actually, he may have to have your approval for the next Alpha to be named, but I can override the elders of any pack. King Lucas stood from his seat and walked towards us with his Luna. I bowed my head to them when they walked closer. Catalia has shown great promise today. I believe that she will make a splendid Alpha for her pack. If the pack elders will not grant her that right, then I will grant her that right as the Lekan King of this district. I looked over at the king. Well, I did not see that coming. Typically, the Lekan Kings, in any of the districts, don't get involved with trivial pack matters, and this was something that I had considered to be a trivial pack matter. My father grabbed my hand and yelled, "Here is your next Alpha heir." The crowd erupted in cheers. I could tell most were happy I was going to be their next alpha, however, there were a few that were looking at me with disdain. Several hours had passed and I finally got the chance to relax. I decided to stay in the pack house again tonight. My house was too noisy and I wanted to be alone to think, without my brothers and parents hovering. I know my father wanted me to give Justin a chance and give him the benefit of the doubt. However, it is hard. After my attack, I closed myself off from everyone and I did not look back. I did not want to be close to anyone. I wanted to be alone. I had accepted the fact that I would die alone and that I would never have a family of my own. I was okay with that. At least, I thought I was okay with that. For the most part, people had respected my wishes. Then Justin walked into my life and turned it completely upside down. I decided to take a shower to help myself relax. Once I finished my shower, I pulled out a pair of thin sleep shorts and a black tank top. I laid down in bed, but I still couldn't bring myself to shut my brain off. I was constantly thinking. I wanted Justin. I can admit that to myself, right? But I don't want to be a disappointment. I don't want to see the disappointment when he realizes what I have been through or what I am going through. The more I think about him, the more I realize that he is what I wanted. He made me laugh, which was something that I hadn't done freely in a while. I smiled when I was with him. I was relaxed in his presence. Last night proved that. That was the best night's sleep I have had in months. I lay tossing and turning for another couple of hours without sleep taking me. I know the solution, I know what my body and mind are craving. This bond sees to it. I want him to lie with me. I want to be in his arms. I want him to hold me and kiss my head. I want to wake up with him curled next to me. I want to be happy with him. So, what's holding me back? Trauma? Depression? Fear? FK it. I have never let fear hold me back before. I am going to go for it. I am going to get to know him. Let him see the real me. Let him love me, and maybe fall in love with him. I tested the mind link between Justin and I realized that he wasn't asleep either. He seemed alert. Hey, Justin. You busy? I hesitantly asked over the link. Yeah, I am finishing up my patrol duty. Shift change is about to happen and your brother is the one replacing me. When he gets here, I am free. What's up? I was wondering if we could talk, if you would mind coming to my room at the pack house. I thought for a second before finishing. I promise I will not reject you or even think about rejecting you. I want you to hold me, please. Sure. I will do anything you want me to do, love. Give me about 10 minutes for Michael to take my spot and then I will be there. I let out a breath that I did not realize I was holding. I guess it is a good sign that he is at least willing to be in the same room as me. About 15 minutes later, I heard a knock on my door. Come in, I yelled. Justin opened the door and hesitantly walked in. Thank you for coming tonight. It means a lot that you came here for me, even after our conversation earlier. I know our conversation we had earlier was rough, but just know I had the best intentions. I don't want to lead you on, only for me to hurt you later, or for you to realize that I am too broken for you. Too damaged. Too destroyed. I want you to be happy and to have everything you deserve, even if that something is not with me. Justin walked towards me and gripped my face with his hands. Catalia, I will never leave you despite the fact that you feel you are unworthy of love. You are not too broken. You are not too damaged. You are just Catalia Frost to me. You are my mate and I will stand by your side until the day that I die. I meant what I said earlier. I am in love with you and that won't change with whatever dark secrets you are hiding from me. I felt the tears building in my eyes as I nodded my head at him. I noticed the bag that he was carrying and I raised my eyebrows at him. I have every intention of staying here with you all night. I am not letting anyone distract me. No one is going to pull me from you tonight. I will wake by your side in the morning. I giggled at him. I guess when he puts it like that, I can't say no. I walked to my bed, pulled down the comforter, and laid underneath the sheets. I motioned for him to come over to bed with me. Do you mind if I take a quick shower? I am sweaty and gross and I am not sure that you want me lying in your bed all sweaty. I nodded my head at him and Justin pulled his shirt off and then ran to the bathroom. He was in the bathroom for no longer than 8 minutes. Yes, I counted. He walked out of the bathroom with no shirt on and a pair of athletic shorts. I couldn't help but drool at the sight of his bare chest. He moved to the bed and crawled beneath the sheets with me. He pulled the blankets up and then he patted his chest, inviting me to cuddle with him. I hesitantly moved towards him and I let his arm wrap around my torso as I laid on his chest. I felt the comforting feel of the sparks running along my face, where I was touching his bare skin. I promise we will talk in the morning, Justin. Thank you. With that, I lay there and let sleep take me. The last thing I felt before falling asleep was Justin's lips on my forehead. Sky purred at the feeling of her mate's lips on my forehead and then I fell asleep. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.